Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Orum, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Welcome, 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 all of you, to our podcast for this week. We are so excited to have you here. Those of you who are new to the podcast for the very first time, welcome to the Deep Dive Podcast. We would love to have you participate in every aspect of what we're doing with the podcast. You can start by going to our Facebook page at the Deep Dive Podcast with Sam Orum and joining our private Facebook group, but also continue to like, subscribe, download, and share. Those of you who are new, those of you who are our long following Deep Dive Podcast family. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week. Another episode of the podcast. Man, we're having so much fun. Last week was Mother's Day, and we've been talking to people, empowering people, getting a chance to interact more and more with our friends from around the globe. And it's so exciting. It's really exciting just to kind of hear all of the excitement from different people, what they learn from week to week. Sometimes we have a little fun and they get a kick out of that, or, sometimes they want to debate some of the things that I say, which is great. Most of the time I preface my comments by saying this is my opinion, so I don't know everything. So just having those debates is important, it's exciting. I'm just having a good time, and I hope you are too. We'll continue to have a good time together, have some fun, and just continue to enlighten and educate and empower people around the globe. So thank you again so much for joining me on this episode. I want to talk to you a little bit tonight about something that I get over and over and over again from people, especially on the Facebook page, and just people who I converse with just, through daily activities. But people are always saying, well, how do I start over? What do I need to do to start over? I feel like I'm stuck. I've done a few episodes about, getting unstuck. You may want to go to the Deep Dive Podcast.live and listen to some of those past episodes about getting unstuck. But I want to kind of expound on that notion a little bit by talking to you tonight about, are you ready to just get a fresh start? Are you ready to start over? And I wanted to ask it in the form of a question first, because before you can start over, you have to be ready to start over. So my question to you is, are you ready for a fresh start? And that's going to be important, because you have to prepare yourself mentally, physically, sometimes financially for a fresh start. But if you're not ready, and you want to answer that question honestly, if you're not ready, then there's no need in pursuing that fresh start until you are ready. Getting a fresh start can be challenging. It can be a lot of work, but it's definitely possible. In fact, it's doable. I set my goals in 90-day increments. And for me, it's a micro bite-sized process, if you will, of how I build my life, how I build my businesses, just in 90-day increments, because it gives me an opportunity every 90 days to have a fresh start. So regardless of what happened over the previous 90 days, I can say, okay, what worked, what didn't work, how can I adjust, how can I tweak this? And really, when you look up, having done this 4 times during the year, your entire year can be powerful just by getting a fresh start, in my case, every 90 days. I just want to share with you some things that may help you or benefit you in terms of getting a fresh start in your own life. Again, for me, it's a 90-day cycle. I evaluate, I reevaluate, I take out the bad, I accentuate the good, and just continue to grow from that perspective. But what would you do if you're ready for a fresh start? You've answered that question in the affirmative, and you're ready for a fresh start. What would be the first thing that you would do? Well, the first thing you got to do is reflect on what you even want. What does having a fresh start mean to you? What is it that you want? You want to take some time to just kind of reflect on what you really want out of life, or what you really want out of a situation. What are your goals? Now, what are your new goals? What are some of your aspirations? What do you aspire to do or aspire to be? What are some of your values that you want to explore moving forward? These are some of the things that you have to reflect on before you even start worrying about a fresh start. Knowing what you want, that's going to help. It's going to help make it better. It's going to help make it easier, help make that path to what you want a lot simpler. So start with that first thing. What do you want? Give some time to that. Give some energy to that. Reflect on what is it that you want and moving forward. The other thing that you got to do, and this is a big one for a lot of people, but it's very, very important. You have to let go of the past, guys. You have to let go of the past. I'll say that one more time. You have to let go of the past. The past is something that it can only alter your future just by your remembrance of your mind or your mindset of it. There's no other action or tangible action that can happen, you know, based on what happened in your past. So a lot of this stuff you have to let it go. Letting go of whether that means letting go of past mistakes, whether that's go of regrets. And ironically, when I'm talking to you guys about this stuff, I'm subconsciously thinking about myself, and I'm talking to myself as well. A lot of things you have to let go of, but let go of those past mistakes, let go of any past regrets or even resentments toward people. Let that stuff go. That stuff will eat at you like a cancer. I don't know, that's too strong, but resentment, having resentment toward others, it can eat away at you. You don't want to be in that space. You want to continue to be able to move, to move forward. Acknowledge what happened, sure. Learn from what happened, sure. But then forgive yourself, and this is a big one too. Forgive other people. It's something I have to work on. Forgiving myself and forgiving other people. Because when you, like they say in New Orleans, like in that New Orleans vernacular, when you do me something, once you do me something, it's hard for me to let it go. It's hard for me to let it go, but you got to be able to forgive yourself and forgive other people if you're going to let that past go. You have to be able to do that. Also, you want to be able to identify the changes that you want to make, because a lot of times people may say, well, yeah, I want to start fresh. I'm ready to move forward. I want to do those things. Okay, so what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. You don't know. Well, how can you move forward with something if you don't know? You got to identify the changes that you want to make, whatever they are, no matter how big they are, no matter how small they are. The first step before you can get a fresh start is to identify the changes that you want to make. Take a close look at your life. Identify the things that you need to change, you need to make better, whatever that may be. It could be your job. It might be changing your job. Who knows? That may be the thing, the catalyst for you getting a fresh start. It could be ending a toxic relationship. So many people suffer in toxic relationships, and that toxicity doesn't allow you to grow as a person, as an individual, because you're in a terrible relationship, a toxic relationship, if you will. Sometimes you just got to let that go, but you got to identify what it is first. Sometimes it could be moving to a new place, a new home, a new apartment, even a new city, new state, even a new country. I mean, it's up to you, but what is it that you may need to get a fresh start? I got a good friend of mine in Africa, and his name is Donald. And I think about all of the things that he shares with me about Africa that he loves, but then all of the things that he would like to do with his life in terms of creating and getting a fresh start. One of the things that he's talking about is actually moving from Africa to America. I'm like, hey, look, bro, um, that may be the thing that gets you a fresh start. It's a whole different mindset, whole different thought process, work ethic, everything is different. But if you're talking about a fresh start, that may be the thing. So sometimes changing your job, changing, getting out of toxic relationship, all of these things, moving to a new place, a new house, a new apartment, a new city, new state, new country. Doesn't matter. Sometimes just identifying what you want and being honest with yourself about what you need to actually change. I think that'll help you as well. But to just, randomly say, I'm going to move to another country or move to another state or just change for the sake of changing. Look, anybody that knows me, you know that I'm a big, big proponent of a plan. I just do not like haphazardly doing stuff. The strategic mindset that I have, the structure that I have in life, everybody I talk to about anything, whether I'm doing executive coaching, whether it's on a board that I serve, whether it's with my companies, it doesn't matter. It all, for me, starts with a plan. My every day is a plan. I have I'm still old school. I have a notebook. I write down things that, you know, I need to accomplish in a particular day. I'll back that up in my one notes, and I'll go through my day just based on that particular plan. What do I need to do for this day? And I'm very adamant about a plan. Look, you have to create a plan if you're going to get a fresh start. There's no way around it. You got to be able to do that. So once you've identified what you want, you know, and once you've identified the things that needs to be changed, then the next thing to do is to just create that plan to make it happen. Set your goals, whatever they may be, make a schedule. Sometimes it's called milestone dates, but make a schedule and then take action. Then take action. A lot of people, they'll get to a point where they do all of this stuff that I'm talking about. They're excited, they're ready to make a fresh start. They do all of these things that are identified, and, the challenges they had or the changes they need to make. They let go of the past. They do all of these things. They set a plan, they set a schedule, and then they stop. They don't take action. There are so many people who get to that point. There's a book you guys may want to read if you ever get to a point where you do all the things and don't take action. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? I can't remember the author off the top of my head, but the book is called Who Moved My Cheese? And it talks about the tortoise and the hare, but I think it's a characterization of people who will, they're active but not productive, or they'll get to a certain point and they'll stop. People who self-sabotage. It may be a good book for somebody to read if you do all of these things that I'm talking about. And then when it's time to take action, you don't take that next step. Check out that book, Who Moved My Cheese? Again, the author escapes me, but yeah, so you got to create that plan. And for me, the more specific the plan, the better. You know, sometimes my friends, my partners laugh at me. Like if I'm doing an event, if we got an event, One Voice event coming up, or a national convention or whatever it may be, right? I can guarantee you months ahead of time, I've gotten this thing broken down by the minute. I can tell you what's going to happen at 10, 11 p.m. months in advance. I can tell you what I would want to happen at 2:02 p.m. Months in advance. That's just how specific I am. when it comes to creating a plan. Because again, I'm a firm believer in not just the plan itself, but a strategy. What is your strategy behind your success? Because I know for a fact that if you've done your due diligence and 1 + 1 = 2, there's no way you can fail. That's from my perspective. I don't believe in failure. And I don't believe in failure because I believe in due diligence. And if you have done your due diligence and everything has been accounted for, and now 1 + 1 = 2, then there can't be a such thing as failure. You can't. You've considered everything. Now, I'm not saying that you won't fail. I'm just saying you've done your due diligence and you've minimized all factors that could cause you to fail. That's what a plan is all about. Okay, so you want to make sure you take note of that. And then a part of this whole thing, guys, when you're talking about getting a fresh start, you got to surround yourself with positivity. That's positive people, people who are going to uplift you and support you. Most people are, I don't know why this is the case, but most people try to hold you back as opposed to encouraging you to move forward and doing some great things. I just don't know why. I know in the Black community it's been like this. It's talked about, that's one of the Willie Lynch theories. Take a look at that as well, the Willie Lynch theory. But I don't know why so many people try to hold you back. You have to be careful who you share these goals and aspirations with, because you've heard the phrase "misery loves company." I have a different spin on that. I like to say misery hates to lose company. So what typically happens is people who are miserable with their own lives, they want you to sit there in misery. Them, they were fearful and broke and disgusted and disgusted with them. They don't want you to get out of that circle and do something great because it exposes what they're doing or not doing, right? So I remember when I started in business and, man, we some young, sharp business men and women, and we didn't take no stuff from nobody. We knew our stuff. We were doing what we were supposed to do. We were doing the right things because it was the right things. We're articulate, we're competent, we're successful, and we didn't apologize for that, right? But what a lot of times what would happen is, especially with the men was to we're trying to empower people. That's the nature of what we do. And so we would talk to people, and we're talking to people's again, mainly men, wives or sisters or mothers or people of that nature, but in particular the wives. And these guys did not like us coming. They didn't like us talking to their wives. They didn't like us no matter how much money we were trying to help them make, no matter what. They did not like us talking to their wives. And one time I just, this one guy got into it. I got into it with him because I still got a bit of a flip mouth, but it was really bad back in the day. It was I just had a flip mouth. It didn't take nothing to come out of my mouth. I'm still working on that. I'm still a work in progress because every now and then some stuff just come out of my mouth and I'm like, oh Lord, I wish I could put that toothpaste back into the tube, but I can't. But back then, I didn't care about toothpaste tube or nothing else. I said what was on my mind. And I remember getting into it with a guy about this. He's like, y'all always coming and talking to my wife about this and how she gonna make money and do all of this stuff and blah, blah, blah. She ain't gonna do nothing. Y'all ain't gonna do nothing, blah, blah, blah. I said, look here, I'm giving y'all the clean version. Look here, Joker, let me explain something to you. The reason you don't want us to talk to your wife about empowering herself, about making money, about the vision and her future, is because it's exposing you for what you're not doing. You're a lazy, pitiful excuse for a man. You're a lazy, pitiful excuse for a husband. You're sitting your nasty behind on the sofa playing video games. You don't have a vision or a plan for the future. You don't know what you're doing. You need to get a haircut. You need to shave, take a shower, and do something with your life. The reason you don't want us talking to your wife because we're an example of what you should be doing, and you ain't doing nothing. So you don't want your wife to be exposed to the possibilities of what success could be. You want her to stay there and bring you your food while you playing Nintendo. The devil is a lie. So I'm just gonna tell you, if you don't want your wife talking to us, you better get up and do something because we gonna help this lady change her life with or without you. Why am I saying that, guys? Because misery hates to lose company. They want you to be there right there with them in the midst of all of this mediocrity or worse, right? Surround yourself with positive people. When you're talking about a fresh start, surround yourself with people that's going to, at the very least, encourage you to keep going. At the very least, some people may participate in your fresh start. They may help you. They may encourage you. They may finance certain things, whatever it may be. But surround yourself with positive people, people who are like minded, people who have like spirits. It could be family, could not be, may not be, could be friends, may not be, could be a community of people, but just so long as they are like minded people, so they don't hold you back or pull you into that space of mediocrity that you don't need to be in. You need to be thriving, guys. So a part of that is being around positive people. I met a guy about 2 weeks ago, and I'm not going to give any names, but this is a guy mentoring, and in mentoring this guy, he was uh, recommended to me in terms of executive coaching, mentoring, and all these other type things. And just in our initial consultation, if you will, he was so enthused and it was so refreshing that he literally said, "Man, I didn't know that there were people who thought like we think." In other words, looking for the big picture. There's nothing too great for us to do. He's like, I didn't know people thought like that because everybody that I talk to, whether it's my wife, whether it's my family, whether it's these people, they all just have a certain way of thinking, and that thinking is counterproductive to being great. I just didn't know. So to hear you talk about the limitlessness of life, man, that's a whole nother podcast there. Let me write that. Let me write that down. And the limitlessness of life. Let me just write that down. Limitless. I don't even know if that's a word. Limitlessness of life. Okay, I'll write that down. See if that's a word. That sounds like a podcast. That's something powerful. But he said, I didn't know that people thought like that. Well, guys, that's the point I'm trying to make. You want to be in the environment of people who do think like that, who are like-minded and have some type of thought for the future. Okay, so surround yourself with positive people. And then last but not least, you got to practice self-care. You got to practice self-care. Um, I think one of the saddest things that happens to people is when they just don't take care of themselves mentally. I'm more so talking about mentally. I'm talking about just being in a position where you uplift yourself. It doesn't matter how you look or things of that nature, is how do you feel about yourself? But taking care of yourself physically, whatever that means to you, taking care of yourself mentally, whatever that means to you, so that you don't have stress or stressful things that's a part of your life. Emotional health is a big thing in the world today, especially since COVID. Something has happened to the emotional state of people. And I've been studying that, but I know it for a fact. Y'all know my background is with the mindset, and so I know that there's something going on with the emotional state of people since COVID, and I'm seeing on that. But emotional health is critical. It's critical to starting over. It is critical to starting anew. That is that emotional health. So you got to do things that's going to help you with that emotional state, whether it's getting out of circumstances that I talked about earlier, getting out of circumstances or getting into circumstances that will allow you to continue to grow, and have that self care that, that's so important. For some people, it's exercise, and I'm a big believer in exercise. Now, I just say I'm a big believer in it. I don't do a whole lot of I don't do a whole lot of exercise, but I know the value of exercise. My mind say, let's go exercise. My body like, no, I don't. I was about to tell a lie. I was about to say I do eat healthy. I kind of try to eat healthy, but I erase all of that with all the sweets and stuff. But hey, I love my sweets anyway. But try to eat healthy foods, things that's going to, because healthy foods actually can empower your brain, give you brain clarity, thoughts, things of that nature. So exercise, eating healthy, all of these things you already know. You want to get enough sleep. What's enough sleep? 6, 7, 8 hours, somewhere between 6 and 8 hours should be enough sleep. Some people sleep 2 hours. What's a guy told? It's a motivational speaker. I ain't gonna call his name either, but he was talking. I was talking to him, and he was like, "Man, you don't need sleep. What you need sleep for? You just need a couple hours here, a couple hours there. You need to do this. The time that you sleep, you can do all of this stuff, and you can do all of this stuff. You can do. Look, I don't care what you say. I need me some sleep. Okay, I don't care. I don't prescribe or subscribe to that 2 hours a night sleep. I ain't trying to do it. I ain't trying to hear it. So while you working 20 hours, 22 hours, go ahead and work. Do you, boo? Do you, boo? But Sam gonna be sleep somewhere. Get you 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Because if I don't get some kind of sleep, I'm gonna be grouchy. And I'm already grouchy enough. I don't need to be extra grouchy because I'm sleepy. I saw I saw a video. I did a training video a couple of weeks ago, and I saw that video when I was posted it, and I'm looking like my eyes puffy and just looking. I'm like, nah, that can't be. That's a lack of sleep, guys. Get you some rest. Get you some sleep, because for me, I think it'll refresh your mind, and that's a part of that whole self-care deal. So get you some sleep. Find ways to reduce stress, whatever that may be, whatever your version of reducing stress is. Some people, reduce stress. There's some teas, TEA, tea. There are teas that can help reduce stress. We have products at One Voice Worldwide that help reduce stress. Some people smoke weed, to help reduce stress. Some people exercise to help reduce stress. Some people get a divorce to help reduce stress. Some people go walking to help reduce. Whatever you need to do to help reduce stress, you need to reduce stress. Stress will lead toward hypertension, which could lead toward other things, kidneys, just so many different things. So bring that stress level down. One thing that I do, I've said this in the past, to bring the stress level down a lot of times, if I'm in a challenging situation and I'm just stressed out about it, I put myself in a position where I mentally I accept the worst case scenario. I accept the worst case scenario. Once I accept the worst case scenario, then that stress kind of goes away. I think I mentioned this on a podcast at some point this season, but when I was young and may have been in college or right after college or something like that, money was always an issue. And, I was worrying about getting my electricity turned off because I didn't have the money to pay the electric bill. So I'm stressing out about what can I do to get the money to get the electric bill paid and all these other, I'm just spazzing out about it, right? Just spazzing out about it. And then I got to a point, I said, you know what, Sam? Bump it. Look, if the electricity goes out, if they turn it off, they turn it off. I'll just sit here in the dark and do what I got to do. I can't worry about it no more. Man, as soon as I said that, it seemed like all of that stress, it just went away. and I could just now continue to move forward. And ultimately, electricity never did get turned off. I was over stressing about nothing. But when I accept the fact, you know what, if they turn it off, they turn it off. It took away all the stress. That works in a lot of cases for me. But at the end of the day, the moral of the story is you want to be able to reduce stress by any means necessary. Whatever it is you need to do, you need to reduce that stress. So, look, guys, I don't want to be the dead horse. You understand what I'm talking about. If you want to get a fresh start, these are some of the things that you just have to do. There's no question about it. You want to, follow some of the things that we talked about in terms of reducing stress, in terms of taking care of yourself, and all the other things that we talked about, being around positive people, so forth and so on. Listen to this podcast again if you need to, but start to adapt some of these things to your life, and then you'll see that that fresh start will be right there for the taking. So with that, guys, I appreciate everybody joining me on this particular episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. I'm having fun interacting with each and every one of you. Don't forget, please like, subscribe, download, and share. There's a lot of things that we can do with the podcast, and we're going to continue to do that. We want to do it together as a family. Go to the deepdivepodcast.live. You see the URL, the address on the screen. Make sure that you listen to some of the previous episodes, listen to One Voice Radio, and even our website at samorum.com. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this week's episode. God bless you, and I'll see you on the beaches of the world.